was never really like I'm becoming a YouTuber or a creator because I want to make a lot of money. I want to make millions of dollars. It was just because I needed a creative outlet. If I, get a kickback out of it, if I get some perks from it, then that's fun too. When it came time to grow our family when having our son and then deciding that we wanted to, possibly move somewhere else, I could really help contribute to this while staying home with my son and doing everything that I love. And I offered package deals and I had a media kit and I had samples and this and that and that and this. And it got to be just so much. So I took about a year to find management because I was either too small for a management house to consider or nobody was getting back to me. And when I was doing it myself, I was like quoting high just so I could negotiate closer to what my rate would be, and media kits, the samples, and I was like even making advertisements for products that I just bought that nobody ever sponsored me for. Sponsorships and brands, they just ghost you and they ask for so many edits and so many reshoots. I think the worst experience I had was with a food brand. When they interviewed me and hired me, they had expressed to me that it was their first time dabbling with working with creators. So they asked for so many reshoots and so many edits, and it was like, okay, the banana in the background, it has one too many bruises on it. I'm like, I'm just in a house. I feel like I'm just a housewife in a house going to my local grocery store trying to find these products and shoot them with my cell phone camera. And you're asking for like super high production level videography. Like I am charging you like 1% of what you normally pay. I still rant about it to this day to my husband over all the emails that were sent back and forth. It was like, okay, the banana is what got me. It's like, there's one too many bruises on the banana.
What does it take to grow as a creator in today's fast-paced, short-form driven world? For Victoria Yost, it's been a journey of slow, intentional growth fueled by dedication, diversification, and a thoughtful shift from short-form success to long-form YouTube content. In this episode, we explore the power of slow and steady growth in the creator economy, how she transitioned from short-form content to long-form content while staying true to her vision, the strategy she uses to balance creative fulfillment with financial sustainability, and why living simply and intentionally is at the heart of her creator journey. Let Victoria's story remind you that success doesn't have to be overnight. Sometimes it's about creating a life that you love while building a brand that resonates. Becoming a full-time YouTuber is the dream, but how can you financially get there? Welcome to The Funded YouTuber, where we sit down with successful YouTubers to dive headfirst into the money-making side of being a full-time YouTuber and creator. We will be breaking down their paths to full-time income, sharing struggles, exposing their victories, and literally mapping out their income streams, how they got them, and what they are working on next. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar. Inspired by YouTubers like you with the vision to fuel human creativity, Gigastar brings creators and investors together. Welcome to The Funded YouTuber. I'm so excited to talk with you, Victoria.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are sitting in a very unique position compared to who we usually talk to on our podcast, in that you have a very big Instagram vertical video following, but you also have added YouTube in as part of what you're doing. So I'm really excited to talk about what you create and how you are transitioning and utilizing both of these platforms to build your brand.
For sure, yeah. It's a very exciting time, and it's very exciting to diversify, as I like to call it.
First of all, what do you create on the internet, and how did you get here?
So I actually started my YouTube channel first, and it was just a hobby of mine. And I focus on all things home. So like cooking, cleaning, homemaking. I try to like inspire people to clean their houses. So I was doing a little bit of long form first over on YouTube, and then I switched over to Instagram and TikTok, and it kind of took off over there, and YouTube got put on the back burner. But then I was like, you know what? I really need to diversify and have everybody, all of my platforms, all unified. So everybody, no matter what they use, they can follow me. So I started to bring all of my content over and kind of simplify it all and make sure that everybody's getting really great quality content all about home, housekeeping, cooking, and cleaning.
Why did you decide to pause YouTube for that period of time? What was it that drove that decision?
Filming for long form content it's very time consuming. And I always felt like I had to do two completely different things at the same time. So it was always like I have to film one way for YouTube and one way for Instagram. But once I figured out a good method or kind of like good recipe for myself that I could work for both platforms, that's when I decided I could go back and use content for both platforms.
What have you found is like so different about those kinds of medias? Like what was the transition model? Like I I have always found that creating on YouTube is as hard or easy as you make it, but sometimes people get like hung up on like what they expect or what they want or what their industry standards are versus like what happens with that vertical. So really dive in, like walk us through what the production of these kinds of content is for what your vertical is and what your audience wants, just so you can have a better understanding of like what you're creating.
When I'm making vertical content, I have to really trim it down because everybody's attention span is very short these days because of, I call it like the TikTok effect. You have to like capture somebody's, interest within the first 5 seconds. Whereas with YouTube, you can kind of drag it out a little bit longer and show all the ins and outs and all the nitty gritty details of something on YouTube, because that is what somebody is there for. They want to see it all. They're there to watch a whole video. I just decided to multi-use a lot of my footage and my videos when filming. So I will just turn on the camera and just film myself and film it as if I am filming a YouTube video. But then when I want to make short form content, I will just trim it down, use the music feature, use like a video, a voiceover as well to, get it to be that very captivating with quick cuts and stuff for my short form over on Instagram.
So what do you find harder, long form content or short form content?
Um, hmm. Some days, some weeks it can be hard. It switches because some days I'm more inspired to really get into the nitty gritty and do something that's really long and really detailed. And then other days it's just a quick tap on the screen to do something really quick. So it just depends on what exactly I am deciding to film for the topic of the week.
I can totally understand and totally respect that. Some days, like I know for me, like I really simplified down my YouTube process. Like I'm not doing all of the like flashes and cuts and stuff. I'm going to outline and script I'm going to say. I'm going to talk to the camera. I'm going to publish the video. Like I just need to remove the extra stuff that just causes things not to get done. And it's helped me with like my costs as well. And minimizing like the stress is like, it's important just to show up and connect versus like worrying about all these little extra details. On your creator brand building journey, like what was the journey like in the beginning of what you were doing? What was it like to get started? Why did you get started? And how did you start realizing, I could do this like as a job?
So I kind of fell into it. So it was just a hobby of mine. It was something that kept me motivated for the week because I was making cleaning videos. So it was like killing two birds with one stone, pretty much. I got to clean my house and I got to be creative and make a video and share it with people. So I got a clean house, got a video. So that's kind of how I fell into it. And so once I started and I qualified for the AdSense and to get earnings on YouTube, I realized, hey, I can kind of supplement, our family's income. I can maybe pay for groceries, pay for gas, let's just be consistent and see where it goes. And as I stay consistent, as I just developed a community that, really resonated with me and connected with me, and they started to branch out and grow a little bit more. The money came to follow. And it was never really like I'm becoming a YouTuber or a creator because I want to make a lot of money. I want to make millions of dollars. It was just because I needed a creative outlet. And if I kept that, that's kind of the goal I've always kept in the forefront of my mind, is this is supposed to be fun. And if I, get a kickback out of it, if I get some perks from it, then that's fun too.
What was it like creating? Like, do you create with your family and like your kids, and like, are they a part of the process at all?
So no, I only have, my son is only 3. So I kind of, I can't direct him at all. He's 3. But yeah, every once in a while, my husband's here. I try to film around everybody because I do recognize that the importance of internet safety and respecting people's privacy. And so I kind of put up some hard boundaries when it came to that, especially in recent years as we've learned more about how family vlogging and stuff like that has affected people in their lives. So I have kind of put up some boundaries about how I film and when I film. So yeah, when they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. Then it's no big deal.
I think it's important to have those boundaries in place. We had an episode with Scott Simpson where he was like this on tracking like to be like this 1 million subscriber YouTube channel with his family. And his kids just straight up said, "Dad, why do we only do fun stuff if we're filming?" And he was like, "Nope, shut it down. we're not doing it anymore. And I think it's a really healthy boundary. But I do know at the same time, though, it's really hard for our kids not to like see what we do and mimic it at the same time. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and well, both of my kids honestly have never known life without mommy having the camera in her face. And so to them, it's like the world's most normal job. They're like, why can't we be on YouTube? It's like,
Yeah.
because it's a terrible, horrible, dark place and you're not allowed to be there yet.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to watch them like mimic us and like pretend like my daughter will like make believe that she's a YouTuber and things like that. And it's really interesting to watch and see um how that affects them.
Yeah. So like my son, I'll be watching like other people's cooking videos or other people's cleaning videos, and he'll be like, Mommy's video, Mommy's video. I'm like, nope, that's not me today, honey.
It's so fun. And it's such an interesting era that they get to grow up like kids of YouTubers. Like what does that like how does that like mold their perspectives on like how life actually works?
Yeah.
My kids have no concept, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just my biggest thing right now is just his privacy. Like if he wants to be, if I'm filming something and he pops in, I'm not gonna do backbends to edit him out or put an emoji over his face, but I am gonna at least try to make sure, he's safe in the video as well.
I would totally respect that.
Thanks.
What was your first taste of income like when it came to your content creation outside of like AdSense?
So I think it came down to my first sponsorship. I honestly can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was for shampoo. Um, and it just really it opened my eyes up to the advertising side of things and how the advertising industry worked. So I'm going from being a creator and knowing how I like to film to now having to verbalize how I'm going to film something to somebody else, because everything up until that point was going on in my head. So when it got to be that point, and so that was a big mind shift change, but then it got to be really exciting because once I figured that all out, then I was like, oh, this opens up a new door, a new land of possibilities when it came to sponsorships and working with brands and companies that I really enjoy and stand by, and helping them help out with the production of a video or two.
I think that it's so interesting when creators don't realize it's a job. Like it's one of those interesting situations that I don't think we kind of like experience as much anymore. So many people are intentionally becoming creators, and there's this whole brand and job that has been formed and molded around becoming a YouTuber. So it's really always fun to like to get that reminder, like, oh yeah, once upon a time we just did this and all of a sudden there was money and you're like, huh, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a similar situation for you where it's like it just naturally unfolded before you.
Just started getting emails. I'm like, oh, these people, they want to sponsor a video? Me? Who am I?
From this, you've been able to build upon it. So what were the circumstances that allowed for you to be like, this is my full-time job. I am now Victoria, a content creator.
So I think it was during 2020 or at least 2021. And I qualified for some of the creator funds. So like TikTok was the first one to have a creator fund, and then Instagram followed, and then YouTube with shorts. So it was exciting on TikTok to make a lot of money. It was a lot of money at first. And by a lot of money, it was like a couple $100s, which was a lot to me because that was like my play money. Like I could go to TJ Maxx and just do whatever I wanted with that because it was just play money to me. So when it came down to it, that was when I really started to focus, because then it was like, okay, I could turn this into not just play money. I can definitely pay for our groceries, for our gas, pay for a vacation. And then when it came time to grow our family when having our son and then deciding that we wanted to, possibly move somewhere else, I decided, or it just came upon in my head, it was like, I could really help, contribute to this while staying home with my son and doing everything that I love.
It's such an interesting thing to think about that like we slowly realize the capabilities and stuff that it is, and I can really relate to what you're sharing in the experience. I always say that this is the house that we live in. We bought it in 2021. Like, this is the house that YouTube made. My husband's a disabled veteran, and so like we qualify for like the VA loan and stuff, but my husband could not have bought this house by himself. And so they're like, we need your P&L and all this stuff. And then I sent it to them, and they're like, what do you do for your job? I'm like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. They're like, you could buy this house by yourself. I was like, It's like so gratifying, like to like have that like confirmation of like where things can go. And I always joke that my dad didn't know I had a real job until I could buy a house. It's that whole journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't make enough where I could, buy a house myself, but it has always been a goal of, I just want to cover just basic necessities. If I can cover that so that we can have some wiggle room at the end of every month, then my goal is accomplished. And if one day, I make it to the point where I can buy a house, then that's great too. But it's never been like that's the ultimate goal. It's just my husband and I, we have a motto, and our motto is live simply. So I never want to get like lost in the sauce of wanting to chase after money. I just want to, as long as this is enjoyable to me, first and foremost, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Right. And I love that, having that healthy like mentality around it. Throughout your journey, though, I'm sure that you've been faced with some struggles. Have you ever had like a really horrible money experience as a creator?
Yes. When sponsorships and brands, they just ghost you and they ask for so many edits and so many reshoots. That's definitely um the worst experience. I think the worst experience I had was it was with a food brand. I won't say which one. And they were, when they interviewed me and hired me, they had expressed to me that it was their first time dabbling with working with creators. And normally they hire a Hollywood production team to do their advertisements and commercials. So they had never worked with a creator before. And I was like, okay. And I was still very much new to working with brands and learning the linguistics of it all. So they asked for so many reshoots and so many edits. And it was like, okay, the banana in the background, it has one too many bruises on it. I'm like, I'm just in a house. I'm just a house. I feel like I'm just a housewife in a house going to my local grocery store trying to find these products and shoot them with my cell phone camera. And you're asking for like super high production level photography and videography. Like I am charging you like 1% of what you normally pay a huge production team. Like this is what you're going to get. But yeah, that was by far, like I still rant about it to this day to my husband over all the emails that were sent back and forth. It was like, okay, the banana is what got me. It's like, there's one too many bruises on the banana.
That is so like the level of control. I wonder, does that brand like, have they loosened up? Like, do you go check and see like what they're doing? Have they like relaxed at all with like, oh, there is a creator aesthetic, not a TV aesthetic?
I haven't gone to check, but I also have not seen any advertisements for them just organically. They are a huge brand. So they're at a point that they don't really need to advertise because their product is such a staple in everybody's households. So yeah.
Well, that is an unfortunate call for them, but that sounds very frustrating. How did you adjust like your contracts and setting expectations with your sponsors going forward from this experience?
So I was trying to manage everything myself first and foremost. And I, have no knowledge of legal speak or anything. And at first I was asking for, I would quote really high so that we could negotiate down to where I was closer to being comfortable with for my rate and I offered package deals and I had a media kit and I had samples and this and that and that and this. And it got to be just so much. And eventually I got to a point where I decided I needed to find a manager. So I took about a year to find management because I was either too small for a management house to consider or nobody was getting back to me. And finally I found Mom Creators with the Guru Gugu and they took me on and I've been so happy. And they taken over everything. But for when I was doing it myself, yeah, I was like quoting high just so I could negotiate closer to what my rate would be and having all of the media kits, the samples. And I was like even making advertisements for products that I just bought that nobody ever sponsored before, just to give just examples of my work. But now I don't have to do that anymore. Thank goodness.
I think the journey to a management is really fascinating. So it sounds like your decision to go for management was just time and experience, where a lot of people are like, I want a manager because I want them to just go give me all of the $1 million deals.
Yeah.
What has it been like to have management that handles all of those things that we creators don't tend to be very experienced about?
It has been like a night and day experience because now brands and companies, they take me seriously when I say, hey, I'm looping. Thank you for contacting me. I'm going to, loop in my manager. She's going to take it from here. And she's no nonsense. Like, you're going to pay her on time. These are what her contract is. She signed for me for contract. She just runs everything by me. She reminds me about due dates. We work together as a team, and it's just so much easier because sometimes when you're in the middle of a project, I just had this happen to me recently. You're in the middle of a project working with a brand. So one of their employees leaves in the middle of the project, and then you're without your contact for weeks, and you're like, I haven't been paid. Nobody's emailing me back. But when with my manager, she's on top of the ball, and she's like, nobody's forgetting about you anymore.
Well, it's really hard to ignore like the boss in the room. And I think that there's a difference. Like, there's a reason we have lawyers. There's a reason we have accountants. There's a reason that we have these experts that are like, no, over here, look at me. I contact. We're not doing that today.
Yeah.
And I think the era of the like net 180 and all of that nonsense is completely out, because that's just a ridiculous way for people to expect people to do business.
Yeah, so I can just focus on creating beautiful content that brands enjoy without having to shuffle through so many email threads and Google slide presentations of how they want everything. My manager, Abby, she just, filters it down to me to just bullet points what I need to do, and I get it done. And very rarely do I have to do any re-edits or reshoots anymore because she communicates to me their needs because she understands what they want, and she also understands how I operate. So there's no more conflict of interest between a creator versus the brand thinking that they're getting a Hollywood style production when really they're just getting a stay-at-home mom in their kitchen.
Having that translator, man, it's so powerful. So I'm guessing from this, it kind of leads into the next question. Like, what's been like your most successful financial opportunity that you have had as a creator?
So the best brand I worked with, and it was with my management team. She was the first thing that she got me. It was with Reynolds Wrap, and I did some videos for them. That was so smooth, and it was the most I had ever been paid for a brand that took me seriously, that respected me, and it performed so well because I got to focus on what I loved to do, which was create. And Abby, my manager, was able to communicate between the brand and me, and really push forward the vision of what I had and communicate that. And that to this day, that is one of my proudest sponsorship moments because I got to create something that I'm really proud of, and it kind of launched me even further because it kind of set the standard of turning this into a career.
Well, and also I think this is here, like, this is the client. This is how this relationship will work. These are our goals to strive for. Those really good those clients kind of spoil us for those bad ones for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that we do here on the podcast, it tends to be really unique and individualized, is that we break down your income streams into a pie chart based on percentages of your income. So at the gate, our biggest one for you is actually creator funds from TikTok and Instagram Reels. And you have talked about this quite a bit, but I believe your third highest one is kind of tied with your sponsorships is with AdSense. Share with us your Instagram and TikTok journey and how you're now bridging over and focusing on YouTube in an intentional way, and how those two content pieces work together to fuel your business.
I have gotten to a point where there has been a lot of conversations online about stay-at-home mom content, homemaking content. I don't know if you're familiar with Ballerina Farm, but that kind of blew up over the summer. So
I fell into it real hard. I was like, I don't know what to believe, but it's fascinating.
Yeah. So I'm lumped into that category of housewife homemaker content. I get lumped into that all the time, and it's like I'm a little different, and I'm able to have now deeper conversations over on YouTube. So like if a conversation starts over on Instagram or TikTok, you only have 60 to 90 seconds to make a video over there. But over on YouTube, I can have a 30-minute conversation. And so I kind of like to start conversations over on Instagram or TikTok and say, hey, I'm going to do a deep dive into this over on YouTube, or vice versa. I'll be like, hey, I've done a deep dive into this. Well, I'll say like, hey, if you need a deep dive on this, homemaking technique, I already did it over on YouTube, and I kind of, that's the bridge to invite people back and forth to, view both content.
I think it's really genius and intentional. One of my peers is named Daniel Batal, and he's a really big YouTube educator. And he talks about like create all the kinds of content that there are, especially when talking about YouTube specifically. Create long form content on YouTube, create shorts, create podcasts, create lives if you want to. And that way you can talk to people where they are in the medium that they prefer. People want to watch your content, understand what you have to say. You just have to deliver in the medium that they care about.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone that loves shorts and someone that loves podcasts and someone that loves long form YouTube videos that all are interested in what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You just have to deliver in a way that makes sense to them. And if they want more, they can get it. But you also can just give them a little taste and it works really well. And I love that you are like showing that how that model exists in an intentional way.
It's definitely a lot of fun, and gets the brain working a little bit more, because then you're kind of tying everything in together and presenting it all in a nice, neat package.
I would also think if we look at like your third your third income stream with sponsorships, I would think that it also adds more sponsorship opportunities. Like you could sponsor Justin a TikTok or IG video, but you also could get a bigger sponsorship if we did this and the long form YouTube.
And we have started bundling things together now. So it's like, if you want me to do, I can cross post to all the platforms now for one flat fee, or you can sponsor not only a couple short videos, or you can sponsor a long form video. Yeah, we're trying to diversify it all, just to, again, meet everybody where they are.
And I think it's intentional and strategic. And I also would like to believe that it was a gradual integration for your business, right? Like you didn't just like hop out the gate and you're like, I'm here, 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 and here. Let's do this, right?
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely gradual.
What was that add-on build? Like at what point did you decide, okay, we're adding this on? Okay, I'm good. Let's add this on. Like what were the things that you paid attention to about yourself that allowed for those decisions to happen?
And you're probably gonna think I'm crazy. I fell into everything. I always say becoming a content creator it happened on accident, because I started getting a couple viral videos and it just started to snowball, and it just built off of itself. So yeah, I started my YouTube channel first, but then like around 2020, like it waned, because then I fell down the rabbit hole of TikTok and Instagram, and I started posting over on there, and YouTube kind of took a back burner. But then once like 2021 rolled around, I was like, you know what, I can really do this. And I sat down, and, you have to come up with a schedule, and you have to come up with a game plan. And it also it can't be too rigid, because trends and, just what people are interested in, they change so fast online. So it has to also be fluid at the same time. So yeah, I just kind of fell into it.
Sometimes we choose things and sometimes they just happen to us.
Yeah.
And I think that what I love about doing this podcast is highlighting all those experiences, because no one experience is the same, and it can help help others depending on where they are in their journey.
Definitely when I started putting out, content online, again, circling back to our conversation before about like privacy and safety online, my parents instilled in me, like, if you don't want it read on the cover of the front page of a newspaper, don't put it out there. So I always have had that in the back of my mind, because I've also seen creators, like, they blow up exponentially overnight, and it changes their life, not only for the good, but also for the bad, because it happens so fast. So I kind of wanted to throttle things too, and make sure that, it doesn't happen so fast that it becomes almost dangerous, if that makes any sense.
Slow and steady. Slow and steady. So we also broke down like your last 10% of your income into affiliates, physical products, a digital product, and also the Amazon creator program. Share with us your physical/digital product, because I know that they support each other.
Yeah. So I am a self-published author. I published a novel in 2015, self-published that. That's on Amazon. It's a YA young adult novel. So that's my physical. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited or an actual book. But then once I really started with the homemaking and cooking and cleaning content, I wrote like a self-help ebook, and that is available for a digital download. And, I try to keep it at a very low price so that it's fair, because I found out that a lot of people, when they found my cleaning content, I got so many emails of people telling me that their parents didn't teach them, or I taught in a way that was very respectful and upbuilding. So I wanted to keep it at a point where it could be anybody could be benefit from it. So those are my two products that I have. I'll occasionally drop like a recipe card for like 99 cents here or there. Um and yeah, those are my little physical things.
I think that they're important and just as valuable as anything else. What is on the horizon for you as a creator business? Like, what are you doing next? What's your next money move?
So I would like to do another ebook, possibly a cooking for beginners ebook. It would be in the future. And I want to really buckle down with YouTube a bit more and dive back into long form content. And yeah, like kind of go back to my roots of back when I first started my YouTube channel, of how excited I was every week to make a video, and just go back to that. Like I have where we moved recently, so that's exciting. So I just want to share all that and share it in a new way that is captivating and helpful to everybody out there. Because that's another thing that stands out in my mind when I put content out there, is that I want it to be useful content. I don't want it to be rage bait. I don't want it to be, sensationalized. I want to help people. And that is what I want to do.
I think that's incredible and intentional. And I think that one of the other things I feel like I can tell about you is that you also are doing this while also balancing like a life. Like you found a good balance between work life. So you can spend time with your son and your family. And I love that you found a way to integrate like your home and into your work in a way that allows for you to like enjoy it. It's awesome. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Like it's very unique. Like I've talked to a lot of people about this, and this is such a refreshing conversation because it's so like, oh, it's so nice. Like you're a creator. Like it's like a very normal, traditional, like middle class way of doing things. Like more of this, please.
Yeah, I definitely. I'm a mom and a wife first and foremost, and everything else is secondary. There are some weeks I don't create at all, and I try not to. I try not to stress out about it, because sometimes I do stress out. I'm like, oh, the algorithm, it's going to start hating me, blah blah blah. But it's like, no, I am a mom and a wife first and foremost. That is what's most important to me personally. And if this all fits in elsewhere, then it fits in and it makes me happy. At the end of the day, if I'm happy and I feel like I had a successful day, that's what counts.
I love it. I think that's an excellent way for us to wrap up our podcast. We will have the links over to all of Victoria's awesome social platforms so that you can go see what she's doing and support the brand that she is building. You can find it over at thefundedyoutuber.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Victoria. I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Yes. Until next week, everyone, go make the money.
Peace.
The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by Gigastar, a parent company of Gigastar Market, an SEC-registered funding portal, and member of FINRA. Learn more at gigastar.io. Neither Gigastar nor its affiliated companies provide legal, regulatory, financial, or tax advice. Any opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and are the informational purposes only. The information and opinions expressed herein are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investments, objectives, finance situation, or needs of any specific investors.